Hey guys, a recent break in the weather, a nice sunny day after freezing rain and ice, made me go outside and start thinking that spring might finally have arrived. And that of course made me think about gear, and that of course made me think about fire starting. There's just something about a campfire that I can't resist. So I want to test for you guys a new fire steel. Here are my thoughts on the Exotac polySTRIKER XL, available for $17.95 from Exotac.com. The first thing I noticed about the Exotac polySTRIKER was its size. At 5.3 inches, it's much larger than the Light My Fire Scout or Army fire steels. It weighs in at 39 grams or 1.34 ounces, weighing less than the Army and more than the Scout. A word about the company itself. Exotac is a privately held, family-owned small business based out of Buford, Georgia. It describes itself as what happens when engineers and guides who love the outdoors are combined. All products are proudly made in the USA. One innovation of Exotac's engineering background is the design of the tungsten carbide striker. Finely machined straight edges give way to purposeful scalloping of metal that strips fine curls of material with each strike, as demonstrated here with material from a magnesium block. To put the polySTRIKER to the test, I decided to use a variety of tinders, such as a cotton ball soaked with petroleum jelly. This I knew would burn without any problem whatsoever, and so it did. Next I tried wood shavings. Admittedly, my technique leaves a little bit to be desired, but once I figured it out, it quickly caught fire. The wind almost caught my remaining tinder on fire. The next test was with dried grass, which I tore in half and then twisted, increasing the surface area in preparation for ignition. This makes it easier to catch a spark. At this point, I'm still figuring out the Exotac's technique, but a short stroke here quickly ignites the grass. So on to other natural tinders. Here I'm scraping the outside of birch bark to create a little bit of dust and also to capture some of the fine scrapings, the peelings from the bark itself, in preparation again for catching a spark from the Exotac. Once more, my technique is not the best, although here I do catch a little bit of dust on fire. But refining it once more, it's able to catch the birch bark on fire with ease. Birch bark remains my favorite natural tinder. My next thought was to see if I could catch a feather stick on fire using the Exotac. Because the Exotac scraper shaves off fine curls of material, its sparks last longer than other ferrocerium rods that I've used. Of course, one key to fire steel use is directing your sparks in the right direction. Notice how I caught some grass on fire there. I know pundits say to pull the fire steel away from the scraper sometimes. I like to rest it on a hard surface like here, and then direct my spark precisely towards the tinder. As you can see here, the Exotac caught this feather stick on fire very easily. Although my own inclement weather fire starting skills using natural tinder are not the strongest, I was curious to see what the polySTRIKER XL could do under these conditions. The weather cooperated, we had lots of rain, and so I set out looking for tinder for another experiment in my test. I found some grass, which was fairly sodden. I tried to look underneath to see if it was drier underneath the top layer. It was still fairly wet, but I thought I would try it anyway. Ultimately, the grass proved to be a tinder that wouldn't catch, whether due to its own sodden state or due to my own developing skills of wet weather natural tinder fire starting. But I decided to try it anyway, just to be thorough in my test. I tried to shave off some curls of the ferrocerium rod, hoping that this would help it catch. I contemplated using a block of magnesium as well and shaving off curls of that. I suspect I could have gotten it to start had I used the magnesium, but I was really trying to test the rod itself. There were some very promising little flare-ups for a moment here and there, but overall, as I said, the grass proved just too sodden. I turned to a piece of wet birch bark next and tried to scrape the dust off of this. Because of the weather, it was not dust but more like paste, as you can see as I scrape it off of my knife here. However, the Exotac did prove that this superior tinder source could catch a spark. A head-to-head comparison of the polySTRIKER and the Army 2.0 was my next plan of action. You'll see that the Army is heavier because it has more material in the rod. In these clips, the video is shot at the same slow-motion speed, and you'll see that the polySTRIKER sparks last much longer than the Army 2.0. When I tried the Army with the polySTRIKER Striker, I had similar results in terms of duration. So my conclusion is that the refined geometry of the Exotac Striker is the key to its greater burn time. Exotac's Striker design is a huge innovation in my book. It means that you can get sparks to last longer, and in inclement weather or with marginal tinder, this is a huge bonus.
So what are my final thoughts about the polySTRIKER XL? I like it a lot, and I like it better than some of my other fire steels. The reason for me boils down to this striker. It is engineered well. It does a beautiful job of what it's supposed to do, which is throwing sparks. The sparks last a long time, and don't worry about that. We've had enough rain that it's not going to catch fire. The sparks last a long time, and that gives someone who's trying to start a fire an advantage at actually getting the fire going. Weight-wise, it weighs less than the Army 2.0. It has less material, and admittedly this striker is going to scrape off more material with every strike than the one that comes with the Light My Fire Army 2.0. But at the same time, I think the benefits probably justify that. What it ultimately is the difference between 10,000 strikes and 12,000 strikes. It's negligible in the grand scheme of things, unless you're in a protracted backcountry situation without an ability to resupply. I don't know, I can't imagine a circumstance where I'd really have to worry about that. But I really like it. I will say, though, that because of the scraper and because of what I just mentioned, the technology involved in this scraper is probably the drawback, because you will go through more fire rods more quickly than you would with the different one, perhaps, because it takes off more material. I don't know that that would be a reason to deter me. I certainly wouldn't. I really like this. I've used it a lot since I got it, and it's definitely something that's earned a permanent part in my kit. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, just let me know. You can post them online, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Until next time.